Hello and welcome to Retirement Today. My name is Jenna Cairns, founder and financial advisor at Beacon Wealth Advisory, and we're here to help get you to and through retirement with financial peace of mind. If you'd like to listen to this podcast again or any of our past ones, you can go out to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or you can view us on YouTube. If you'd like to subscribe, you can go out to YouTube, put in the search engine Beacon Wealth Advisory, and then you can hit subscribe and you'll be notified every time we have a new video out. So before we get started, I want to bring on my fabulous co-host, Jacqueline Gladhill. How are you, girl?
I'm hanging in there, Jenna. It's great to be here. I do want to share with our listeners and viewers, you had a birthday this week. So happy
Yes,
birthday. What
thank
did you end up doing to
you.
celebrate?
Oh my gosh, thanks for asking. Yeah, we had a great day. I took the day off work, and this
Good.
is going to sound funny, but I spent the morning organizing my kids' closets because, it's going to be back to school time. So wanted to get that done. Then we went out to eat to my favorite restaurant, Cafe Providence. So it's a nice little romantic French restaurant. So we did that in the afternoon. And then I got a massage. And then just had a nice dinner, lots of gifts. So I felt very loved. It was a great day,
Wow, that sounds
And
perfect.
it's like I'm getting, closer to retirement, right? Age. And I'm going,
Mhm.
wow, I can't believe I'm a Gen Xer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is so exciting. And I'm so
Thank
happy to hear that you
you.
had such a great birthday.
Thank
I mean, any
you.
any special birthday or just another
Um,
year?
just another year. Yeah, not like a big milestone birthday or anything. I'm not quite in my 50s yet. But it was a great day. How are you doing? What's new with you?
Not much. I feel like I'm just kind of running around with sometimes on a hamster wheel or a chicken.
Ah,
I don't know what you want to call it.
right.
But it was great. This last weekend I had some girlfriends over and we went to the trampoline park, Jenna.
Nice.
And
I
it's
love
so funny
that.
because everyone's like, my girlfriends were originally kind of embarrassed. They're like, why would you want to do this? And I said, it's going to be fun. I promise you, we're going to go, we're going to have fun. We had such a blast. I mean, don't get me wrong
Oh,
though. We were the oldest there. And we definitely have some bruises and some rug burn, and my neck hurts, but
yes.
it was fun.
Oh,
It was a great way to get kind of a workout while having fun. So,
yes. Yes. That's wonderful. I know, we're never, you can be like a kid again, right? On the
exactly.
trampoline. And it is a good workout too. It really
Mm,
is,
mhm.
especially for your core because we take our kids to trampoline parks and sometimes I'll jump with them. And
Yeah,
I'm amazed how much of a workout it is. Gosh,
absolutely. Well, Jenna, I'm excited to get into this topic today because we're going to be talking
me
about
too.
Gen X, which is you, speaking of age there.
I
And so you are a part of this
know.
generation that survived kind of the latchkey childhoods, the dial-up internet, the Aquanet, water beds. I love the water beds and
I
the family road
know.
trips, but without the GPS, maybe even a map in hand.
I know, I know. And I mean, now that I'm a Gen Xer, I mean, I know I don't look old, but I do have people ask me sometimes, Jenna, when are you going to retire? And I always say I don't know because I love
Mhm.
what I do. And so, but it is just I'm still taking it in that I'm a Gen Xer, Jacqueline.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
it's
anyways,
taking it in for me too.
yeah. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad. Yeah. But it is a funny generation. We drank from garden hoses, recorded some off the radio, and learned patience by waiting 3 hours for like one photo to download back in the day.
Mhm.
This is just a different generation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one of the biggest hot topics right now is Roth conversions. And so you're
Right.
telling me, you're kind of expected to understand what a Roth conversion is. Like, what?
I know. I know. Most Gen Xers are like, what is that? Right. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, our generation has been through a lot.
Mhm.
But I'm proud to be a Gen Xer.
Yeah. Well, Jenna, and this generation is, kind of a critical financial stage. Most Gen Xers are now in their mid 40s to maybe early 60s, and
Hmm.
retirement's no longer kind of a vague event happening sometime, but it's truly becoming closer and closer to really happening like soon.
Right, right. It really is becoming real. I mean, some of my friends are like retiring in 4 or 5 years,
Mhm.
which is great. And Gen X is carrying out, careers, children, aging parents, mortgages, college bills, and at least one mysterious subscription that nobody remembers signing up for, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, for our viewers and listeners, we're going to be breaking down the biggest mistakes that Gen X investors are really making now, not to frighten anyone, but to really help you organize a problem while there's still time to possibly change it.
Yeah, and money is never just math, We've talked about how it's definitely closely related to people's hearts. It's very personal. It ties to love, identity many times, and occasionally a heated conversation about why anyone's needs for streaming services, right?
Uh-huh. Yes, and especially multiple, right? You got the
Yeah,
the Hulu, the
yeah.
Netflix, the Peacock, the
Right.
Disney, all of them.
Yeah.
But I just want to remind our listeners here, this conversation is for general educational purposes. It isn't a personalized investment, tax, or legal strategy or advice. Your situation's unique to you, so consider
Mhm.
speaking with that qualified professional before making any major financial decisions. So let's go on and let's move forward with starting with mistake number one. And this is, the kind of the classic retirement picture. So you work until you're 65, get a gold watch, maybe even a Rolex if you're out there, and then you spend the rest of your life playing golf.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, mistake number one, Jacqueline, is really treating retirement like a finish line. And although these days the gold watch has been replaced by a company branded travel mug and an email saying your system access ends at midnight, it really isn't the finish line, right?
Well, nothing says thank you for 30 years like being locked out of Outlook.
Exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? So let me tell you about a guy named Mark. He's 54 and has worked in operations for nearly 30 years and is absolutely exhausted. He's like, I am feeling ready to be done. When I asked what retirement looked like for him, he said, like I said, I just really would like to be done. Not traveling, not volunteering, not spending time with family, just done, exhausted. So I asked, well, done with what? And he went quiet and he said, feeling like my life belongs to everybody else. It was
That hits
interesting.
hard. Hmm.
It does. It does. I mean, Mark spent decades providing for family, caring for aging parents, supporting children through college, and responding to work messages at all hours. So retirement wasn't really his goal, but just freedom was. But because he
Hmm.
hadn't really defined that freedom, his plan rested on one arbitrary age. He didn't know what retirement would cost, how he wanted to spend his time, or whether part time work might give him some breathing room sooner. So,
Yeah, so the
just
mistake isn't, really wanting to retire, it's planning for the age instead of planning for a life.
yes, exactly. And a lot of people say, Jacqueline, I want to retire at 65.
Mhm.
Retiring at 65 is great, but it's not a financial plan.
Mm,
It's a birthday, really, with more paperwork that you need to do. So, a better
yeah.
plan would ask, what do I want my days to look like? What does my retirement life look like as far as lifestyle and dreams? Which expenses may disappear and which ones may increase? Another good question is, do I want to stop working or simply stop attending meetings that should have been emails? And
Mm.
what relationships, routines, and sense of purpose will replace work? When those answers become clearer, then the financial plan really has clarity as well, you know?
Yeah, it's truly about the purpose and the intentionality. I
Yes.
completely see that. So on to mistake number two, taking care of everyone except for themselves. And I could
Oh,
say I am very
yeah.
guilty of this. And Gen X in
Penny.
particular, you guys are often called the sandwich generation, or at least for now. So this means that you're supporting your children on one side and also
Yep.
your aging parents on the other.
Yeah, we really are considered the sandwich generation, except it's less like a sandwich and more like being the last tube of toothpaste in the house. Everyone
Mm.
keeps squeezing and squeezing, and somehow you're expected to just produce more and produce more. But there's only so much
Mhm.
to give, right?
Well, and that is extremely accurate and a little disturbing how you explain that, but it's accurate.
I know, it really is. So consider Denise, age 58. This is an example. Her adult son moved home after a difficult breakup. Her mother needed help paying for prescriptions and home repairs. Denise was covering both while contributing less and less to retirement. There's only so much money to go around, you know? So every expense really felt temporary, you know, one semester, one car repair, one more month, but temporary had quietly lasted 6 years, which is also how long some adult children define until I get back on my feet. When we
Mhm.
discussed boundaries, Denise started crying. And I actually, excuse me, get this a lot from people that still have their children living at home. And she said, if I have the money and they need it, how can I say no? I mean, my children are my life.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's not really a financial question, is it?
No, it's about love, guilt, and identity. And Denise believed being a good mother and daughter meant absorbing every financial shock. But if she depleted her retirement savings, she risked becoming financially dependent on the same children she was trying to protect, right? So there's always that balance that we
Ooh.
talk about.
Yeah, and that turns today's rescue into tomorrow's kind of group project.
Exactly. Support should be intentional and sustainable, in my opinion, right? And
Mhm.
that means establishing a fixed amount to provide each month, maybe setting a deadline for an adult child support or coordinating care among siblings instead of quietly caring for everything yourself. And I am big about boundaries, Jacqueline. You know, I've talked about boundaries. I've read all of Henry Cloud's books on boundaries. Boundaries really don't mean you love your family less. Sometimes love sounds like, I can help you with this much. Sometimes it sounds like, let's make a plan. And sometimes it sounds like, you are 31 and the family phone plan is no longer my responsibility.
Okay, that
You
reminds
don't
me
like
of
this, do
yes.
you?
No,
I hope your parents don't watch this, Jacqueline. My goodness. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sure you're very independent.
No, it's funny because, you talk about the paperwork at a birthday or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at the 26 mark where you're kicked off all your parents' insurances, right? So, that's another birthday of paperwork, in my opinion, but
Yes, yes. I know,
well,
it's
let's
amazing. Oh, go ahead.
yes. Well, let's move on to mistake number 3 here, and that's letting fear make the investment decisions. And we talk about a lot about emotions getting in the way of your investments. And Gen X has lived through some brutal market experiences.
Yes, they sure have. The dot-com crash, the global financial crisis of 2008, the pandemic shock, inflation, layoffs, and beanie babies failing to become a legitimate retirement strategy. So we've been through
Somewhere,
a lot.
yeah, somewhere a plastic storage bin full of them just felt attacked, Jenna.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Beanie Baby lovers. Well, and here's another example. You know, I love stories, Jacqueline. If you take Carlos, he watched his retirement account sharply go down during the 2008 financial crisis. I mean, do you remember, Jacqueline? Like a lot of people lost like 50% of their
Yeah.
portfolio. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And that's
And
on
it,
top of jobs too. People were
yeah,
just out.
I know, and
Mhm.
it took a long time really to recover from that, not like the
Mhm.
latest market crashes that have happened where people kind of recovered right away. Well, he panicked like a lot of people did, moved most of his retirement account into cash and promised himself he would reinvest when things felt safe again. But safe was a long ways away. It
Mhm.
almost feel like it never arrived. When markets recovered, he thought prices were very high. When they fell, he worried they would fall sooner. And so years passed and he still had that money in cash, Jacqueline.
Yeah, well, and that's a great topic to bring up, Jenna, because I feel a lot of listeners and viewers might relate to this. They
Yep.
think that cash is safer. And
Right.
it does. It does feel emotionally safe, even though it it truly carries its own risks.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, avoiding volatility isn't the same as totally avoiding risk. I mean, cash can lose purchasing power with inflation. I mean, inflation's over 4% right now. So if you're not making at least 4% on your investments, you're really losing money due to
Mhm.
inflation. So sitting out long periods into cash can prevent portfolios from participating in market growth. And so again, the opposite can happen too, where some investors really realize they're behind and try to get too aggressive and catch up by concentrating in a few hot stocks or chasing whatever investment is dominating the news, so it can go both ways.
Yeah, well, nothing improves a retirement plan like the panic mixed with the internet confidence, especially now with the AI stuff.
Oh, I know. Like, can you really trust what you're even reading, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And fear can really push people to the sidelines. I mean, regret can also push you towards the roulette wheel. I mean, neither one is a plan, right? But I
Mhm.
think a sound investment strategy, and this is another reason why working with a financial advisor that can help you from reacting too much emotionally with the market, it really begins with your timeline, your cash flow needs, and the amount of risk that you're actually needed and
Mm,
required to make to pursue your goals. We really know none of us have a crystal ball, right, Jacqueline?
mhm.
So you really can't predict every downturn and try to time everything right. If we could do that, Jacqueline, you and I would be recording this show from some yacht somewhere and, living the dream, the big life, right? If we knew all those answers, right?
Yes. Yes. I mean, amen to that. And mine, I think, would be named like diversified assets, you know?
Yes, yes. Mine would be named Past Performance is No Guarantee.
Ooh, I like that one too. All right.
Yeah.
Well, on to mistake number 4, which is confusing familiarity with diversification. Now,
Yeah,
I'm a
this
little
one.
curious about this one. I mean, this one seems especially relevant for the people who have worked at the same company for years.
Yeah. And this is why my husband and I always say we will never work for the same company. Now, he
Yes.
does help me with Medicare, but he also
Mhm.
has another job. And so I just think it's so important to not have like one company be your bread and butter for your family, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about Lisa, a 51-year-old that was an executive who really loved her employer. She believed in its mission, knew its leadership, and had been rewarded with company stock. And over time, that stock became a large part of her portfolio. And so when I raised this issue with her, she said, I know that this company is better than anything else I could invest in the market. And she was right. She knew it deeply. But her salary, health insurance, bonus, professional network, and retirement wealth were all tied up in that one organization. One.
Mhm. Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh, and that's a lot of eggs in one corporate brand basket.
It really is. Exactly. I mean, if the company struggled at all, several parts of her life would be hit all at once. So, familiarity can feel like safety, but concentration in one company increases vulnerability. It can happen with
Mhm.
company stock, even one industry, rental properties in
Mm.
one city, or several funds that look different but really are owned by many of the same companies. Um, so, you have to be
Yeah.
careful, right?
Yeah, so 5 funds aren't necessarily diversified if they're all wearing different trench coats over the same investment.
I love that. That's exactly a great analogy. I mean, correct. Diversification isn't exciting. Nobody really comes to you at a barbecue and says, Jenna, you will not believe how reasonably balanced my portfolio is. But diversification isn't designed really to win the barbecue. It's
Mhm.
designed to reduce the chance that one bad outcome can destroy your overall plan, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Well, on to mistake number 5, which I think is my favorite, and it's focusing on
Ooh,
returns while ignoring taxes. And taxes is a huge topic, and I
it
think it's
is.
everyone's favorite, right?
Oh, yeah, everybody loves talking about Uncle Sam, right? He's like a silent business partner.
Mhm.
But anyway, listeners everywhere just reached probably the skip button because nobody, like you said, likes to talk about Uncle Sam, but stick with us,
Hey,
everybody.
yeah, yeah, we promise not to say, anything bad or I mean, this is really a hot topic that should
It
be
is.
discussed and that should be heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of people's largest retirement expenses many times is taxes, right,
Mhm.
Jacqueline?
Yeah.
And so, really, when we think about the return that's on our statement, it is not necessarily the amount that you get to spend, right?
Mm.
Because imagine Robert, age 60, he had saved diligently in a tax deferred retirement account. He was very proud of that balance. It was very high, and he really should have been.
Mhm.
But early, all his retirement money was in the same tax category, which a lot of people do with like a regular traditional 401k, right? He
Mhm.
had never considered what would happen when he retired and actually started taking out those withdrawals and didn't realize that his traditional 401k account would be completely taxable at retirement when he was taking it out. He didn't realize that that could even impact his Medicare related costs or his ability to fund a large purchase without creating a really unexpected large tax bill in retirement, right? So
Yeah, and
taxes are key.
yeah, and Jen, I'm so glad that you brought that up because it kind of refers back to the last mistake is that he had the investment diversification, but not the tax diversification.
Exactly. I love the way you put that. The goal isn't, of course, to avoid taxes at all costs. I mean, people sometimes spend a dollar to save 30 cents and call it a strategy, but the goal is to manage taxes thoroughly over time, over the long run. And depending on your circumstances, that may involve balancing tax deferred, after tax, and Roth accounts, reviewing overall asset allocation and coordinating charitable giving or evaluating Roth conversions during lower income years. So I know these choices can seem complex, but if you have a financial advisor that does understand how investments work with taxes, and even can work closely with your CPA, it can be especially valuable. And so, retirement plans should not estimate only what you own, but what may remain after taxes, because the IRS is not technically your retirement partner, even if it really, like I said earlier, behaves like one, right?
Yeah, I like that too, Jenna. Well, and speaking of taxes that nobody really wants to hear or learn about, this is another one, which is mistake number 6, which is underestimating healthcare and long-term care. And this is again
Ooh,
another subject that people tend to avoid until they can't.
yeah, it really is. And this sometimes makes people feel vulnerable because I don't
Mhm.
know about you, Jacqueline, but I like the feeling of being able to take care of myself. The idea
Mhm.
of having to depend on somebody else to take care of me makes me
Mhm.
feel very anxious. Some
Mhm.
people can do that. I am just not someone that feels at peace with doing that. And so it does make people feel vulnerable sometimes. And I think of like Susan and Greg, who I know both in their late 50s. Their retirement spreadsheet was beautifully organized when they came in, housing, travel, groceries, everything was accounted for. These people that come in with spreadsheets, right?
Oh yeah, how about color coded?
Oh, yeah. I think it may have even been color coded. I mean, they were very organized. They had done their planning, but nothing creates a false sense of control quite like a pale blue spreadsheet cell. And
Mm.
the thing is, they had listed healthcare as one flat number that never changed.
Mhm.
Well, then Greg's father developed dementia. The
Mm.
family spent months coordinating appointments, home care, and eventually a move to a care community. The emotional strain was enormous and the cost shocked them. I mean, I
Mm.
think
Yeah.
nationally right now, Jacqueline, to be in a nursing home, the national average is like 110,000 a year. And what
Wow.
a lot of people don't know is the cost of that care to be in a nursing home on average goes up by 5% per year, which is a little bit higher than inflation even. So
Oh.
it's just unbelievable how expensive these costs can be. And one evening, Susan looked at Greg and said, well, we planned for growing old. We didn't plan for needing help with our health care.
Mm. And that sentence stays with you for sure.
It should. Long-term care doesn't automatically mean a nursing home, and insurance is not right for everyone, but depending on the risk and, just denying the risk doesn't
Mm.
exist. It's not a decision, just one made with your fingers in your ears. I mean, planning might involve insurance, dedicated assets, Some people even earmark like their Roth IRAs to be
Mhm.
used for a nursing home down the road. Some family support, or maybe a combination of all of that. It should also address legal documents like healthcare directives and who will make decisions if you can't, which you need to get with an estate planning attorney on. So this isn't only about protecting money, it's really about protecting choices and reducing the burden on the people that you love. I mean, I think
Yeah.
about, even if someone doesn't have a big desire, Jacqueline, to leave a legacy to their kids, can you imagine going into a nursing home and then putting your significant other at risk for their lifestyle to completely change? I mean, even if you just want to protect your spouse or significant other or partner from having a big lifestyle change, I think at least having some kind of plan to protect yourself in this area is smart, don't you?
Agreed. I completely agree with that.
Yep.
Well, Jenna, we are running out of time, so let's finish off with our mistake number 7, which you touched
Yep.
on earlier about believing it's too late to fix anything. And this may be the most emotional mistake of all.
Yes, I see this a lot with the Gen Xers like me. It's like, whoa, where did the time go?
Mm,
And they go, I should have more saved or something like that. And so I do see a lot of shame, believe it or not, from people that come in the Gen X generation. And many people reach their 50s or late 40s and they say, look at what I've saved. And then they think, I really should be further ahead.
mm,
Then they do things like avoid opening statements, they postpone meetings, they refuse to calculate what retirement might require because they're like afraid of the answer.
yeah.
It's like the financial equivalent of ignoring the check engine light and turning up the radio on your car, right? Isn't that a good
Yeah.
analogy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I've done that once in my life, but I mean, it works beautifully until the smoke comes out of the hood.
Yes, you're going, it's time to make a change. And so let me tell you my last story about Amy. She's age 56. After a divorce, she felt like her financial life had been just split in half and just
Mhm.
totally emotionally devastated. She came into a meeting carrying a folder full of unopened envelopes. And before we reviewed anything, she said, I want you to know up front, I know I've ruined my future. But she hadn't. Her plan just
Yeah.
needed some work. She had
Mhm.
difficult choices to make. She adjusted her savings rate, reconsidered her retirement date, reviewed her housing costs, and organized accounts she had ignored for years. Excuse me. There was no miracle and no secret investment. There was simply a series of informed decisions. And a few months
Mhm.
later, she said, I'm not where I thought I'd be, but I'm not where I used to be. And
Mm,
I'm moving again. And thank you, Jenna, for helping me have hope again that I can
yeah.
rebuild my life after this really hard life transition.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, financial progress doesn't always have to begin with having more money. Sometimes it begins with just opening the envelope or, doing small changes.
Yeah. And you can't change the years behind you, but you
Mhm.
still are able to change how much you save, how you invest, when you retire, where you live, how you manage taxes, and what retirement looks like. And sometimes I think shame freezes people, Jacqueline, but clarity gives them choices. Clarity really never goes out of style, right? I
Mhm.
mean, just having that clarity of where am I and where do I want to go can just give people so much peace of mind.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Jenna. Well, great episode. I love talking through examples like this and truly just, seven biggest mistakes. That is a great place to
Yeah.
start for our listeners. And I'm let's just share with our listeners one more time how they can get a hold of you because Jenna, I know that you offer a complimentary consultation for anyone who's maybe considering, where do I start or where do I
Yes.
begin? So how can they get a
Yeah.
hold of you, Jenna?
Yeah, we'll start with a complimentary consultation. Gather your account balances, your insurance, and maybe a budget if you've put one together, and your last, investment full statements. And you can come in for that complimentary consultation just to get a second opinion and get some financial peace of mind by calling us to schedule that at 1-800-994-8993. Again, that's 1-800-994-8993.
Well, thank you, Jenna. And what a great episode. And we'll see you guys next week on Retirement Today with our host, Jenna Cairns.